Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
Today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Transarctica. Aaron,
How
this
fitting.
is a train game.
Yeah.
Have you been on a train before? And okay, let me ask this again. Have you been on a train that was not the train at Cass Scenic Railroad and or Camden Park?
Well, I've never been on a Cass train. I
What?
don't got that kind of jack.
You call yourself a West Virginian and you've never been down to Cass Scenic Railroad.
Listen, don't call me that. I'm from New Jersey, technically. But, no, I've never had the Cass Scenic Railroad. I don't make Cass Scenic Railroad money. I make Camden Park train money. That's
so you have
expensive.
been on the Camden Park train?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've been on that the train up to the Hocking Valley train. Don't forget that one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's a more real train than I think the Cass Scenic Railroad train.
You
But
do?
you've never gone on like a city spanning trip on a train before.
You know, I wanted to go on a city-spanning trip. I had one planned to go to Houston via Amtrak, but then I had two startling realizations. Realization number one, the train only went to San Antonio, and then it was a 4 or 5 hour bus ride to Houston because America's railroad system is not good.
Right.
And then two, it would cost me $400 kajillion, and I would have to go to Chicago from here, and then make my way all the way down to San Antonio. So
I know you don't like Chicago.
it's not. That's got nothing to do with it. It's just who goes to San Antonio via Chicago from West Virginia. That's that's
Yeah.
the stupidest route
The rail
imaginable.
system in this country is insane.
It
and
is.
I had never been on a train before I went overseas, except for Cass. You know, we went on the West Virginia trip in middle school, and Cass was part of that. But it was funny to me the first time that I took a sleeping train. And this was in Thailand, and we got on the train, and then all of a sudden there was a guy, and he's just like, stand up, and he took the seat and he fiddled with it, and boom, it was a bed. And so everybody that was on seats just a moment ago was now laying down in beds, and then he just went to sleep. Pretty wacky.
How was the sleeping on a train? It's got to be
Well,
awesome.
It was double decker style. Okay, so you had the bed up top and the bed down low.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you don't want is the bed up top, because the higher up you are, the more you feel the sway of the train.
Oh yeah.
And you feel the suspension. I got no sleep on the way back when I was up top, but down low, it's not too bad. I'd do it again.
I thought the train would kind of gently rock you to sleep. You know.
It like I said, it's you would think that, and it does when you're close to the wheels.
Yeah.
But when you're up top, it's almost like you're Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade at the beginning. You know,
Yeah.
you're rumbling and stumbling through the night.
You know, it's funny. I was just talking to Tree earlier. We went to Charleston, South Carolina a few years ago. We went out to Fort Sumter. All right. If you haven't
Yeah.
been, you should go. It's awesome.
You can. I think that they you can steal bricks from Fort Sumter and they don't care.
Really? I wouldn't do that. My God. That's a
Somebody I know stole a brick from Fort Sumter and
Who?
he said they didn't.
It wasn't you, was it?
I'm not at liberty to divulge.
It
that
was you,
information.
Boat. Where's the brick at? Is it in your house? I'm calling the feds.
They don't care, man. They
Any-
don't care.
Anyways, to get out to Fort Sumter, you have to take a boat. And you're effectively going across like a bay or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But the gentle rocking of the boat, it knocked everyone on the boat out. It was like they...
Oh, wow.
I was the only one awake. I looked around. It was the tree, the baby, everybody out cold. And then on the way back, same thing. My buddy from work went. It wasn't quite as gentle the day he went, and it threw people around like they owed the boat money. They beat the tar out of these suckers. So I guess, I don't know if a train surely isn't that bad, but I can definitely see where being up higher could throw you around a little bit and make you uncomfortable. I'd still like to do it though. It'd be a lot of fun. I'd rather do it in Europe where they know what's going on. Over here, you just get irritated by Amtrak.
I think that's a good move. Wait till you get to Europe. All right, Aaron. I'll tell you what we shouldn't wait for anymore, and that's the news from the Amigos Retro Gaming.
Oh man,
YouTube channel.
we've got a bumper crop of sweet action this week, Boat. No news on everythingamiga.com, so we're going to skip right over to the video section because we got double double and double here, news-wise, of sweet action since our last show. So, I guess the first thing we should talk about, Boat, it was a happening, and it was called
before it's a happening,
yeah.
Do you want to talk about the? Okay, yeah, I
we'll
guess
get that
even though these are in a different order.
That's right.
Go forth. I apologize.
It was a happening, as I said. The International Computer Club, the second gathering, if you will, of the International Computer Club. This came in at a slim, trim, 4 hours plus, and it was a pretty interesting 4 hours. We had a lot of fun. I know that guy. We had all sorts of different presentations. We had a good crowd, didn't we? But we drew pretty well this time.
We had a great crowd in the chat, and then we had about 12 or 13, over a dozen presenters that were actually, live attendees.
Yeah, we had some come and go there as the thing went on.
Right, representing all of the countries of the world. I mean, we had them all.
I was pleased. There was not too much technical faux pas-y, but there was a little bit. I was asleep at the wheel for a couple things, but otherwise, it went without a hitch. The internet held up, and I really enjoyed it. I want to once again thank everyone that came out and told their tale there, including all the fellas you see there. Gosh, we had a great crew that came out, and I enjoyed it immensely. So again, my appreciations, and thanks to everyone that showed up in chat. I'm glad you guys dug it. Maybe one of these days we'll give that another whirl if my heart can take it. I don't know, that might be a while. Speaking of things my heart can't take, I had to work with the Brent on ARG Presents this past Sunday, and this was the Amstrad Mega Pc, another great name from Europe, Boat. It's the Mega, and so. This time out, of course, most of you probably are familiar with the Mega PC, but what this thing is, it's basically a 386 that can also play Genesis / Mega Drive games. And so someone suggested that I do a game that actually worked on the Genesis and the Mega Drive, and the PC, and so that's what I picked. I picked a game. Gosh, it's been so long since it's SOS Sink or Swim. Both of you played this? I think this was on the Super Nintendo. You ever heard of this one?
No, you mentioned. I remember you mentioning that, but I've not played this game.
It's actually a pretty decent little puzzler. It's not anything. It's not like what I would call top shelf, but it's sort of middle shelf. And then the Brent, clearly seeing how much fun we had playing Nick Faldo, had to get his links on, and then we sort of buried links on the show a little bit, Boat. Because it had its problems. I mean, we've played it on here, so you know the story. But if you want to watch me and the Brent fool around with the Mega PC and learn a thing or two, give us a look. Next on the docket here, Boatster, let's talk about. Well, heck, speaking of the Brent, a while back we recorded this. This is Dave's Midnight Magic for the Atari for the 1200 XL show. I know you played this one, Boat, back in the day.
Yeah, this one, I didn't play it until later on down the line.
Yeah.
I didn't own this back in the day. Of course, I didn't own much back in the day, let's be honest. But I didn't have this game. What I played was the Pinball Construction Set by Bill Budge, which had a lot of tables on it that were sort of pre-made that resembled this. Although I do think that this game, the table layout in Midnight Magic is superior to anything that came out of the gate with the Pinball Construction Set.
Well, one would assume that would be the case, considering that David
lifted it. Table.
He lifted the table straight from Black Knight, and I've played Black Knight many times in person and emulated. And there was a little doubt. I could tell that before I even did any research. I'm like, look, there's that crazy loop. There's the upper playfield. That's Black Knight, and it was. But this game was a huge deal back in the day. So if you're into the old pinball scene or in the old Atari, check out me and the Brent on the 1200 XL show. Now this one, I was actually watched some of this. This is our good buddy Jack Flack. He did a playthrough on Prince of Persia. I know you love this game, Boat.
One of the worst games that's ever existed.
Listen, I'm gonna assume that you're just screwing around, because that's 100% wrong. This is a
I'm exaggerating.
A top shelf title.
This is not one of my favorite games. I've never been a fan of platforming games that control as poorly as this does.
Yeah.
But I do recognize its importance in the annals of gaming history, and I do emphasize the word annals.
I will say this: it controls perfectly. I mean, it plays perfectly. The controls are the strong point of the game, not the weak point.
Boy, what's the weak point?
There is none. That's my point. It's that good a game. Trust me, I would rather play this a million times than a game like Flashback. I have all kinds of trouble with the controls on that.
To me, this and Flashback are almost the exact same thing.
Well, I'm assuming you have never played this then.
I have.
Little in common.
Okay.
And then the Flaxter also gets crazy and gets a little Prince of Persia. I think this is the SNES version boat. Now this one I've played on there, and I didn't like it that
different.
much.
I've never
It
seen
does.
the Super Nintendo version. It's almost like a
look
different
at that
game.
guy. He's angry. And then this gets a lot more. There's a lot more texturing and whatnot. This was a fun stream. In fact, I like all Flax stuff. We were talking about it before the show. If you want to catch the Flaxter, going to work on Prince of Persia, give that a whirl. I love. I really, truly, that's one of my all-time favorite games, and I made that abundantly clear.
Flack does have a new episode of Sprite Castle.
Correct.
His C64 podcast. You can check that out on the Amigos Retro Gaming Network podcast feed. This one is all about the C64 Maxi. So if you remember a while back, before Sprite Castle took its lamentable break, Rob did a special on the C64 Mini, and he's following it up with a review of the Maxi. So make sure you check that out.
I haven't got to hear that yet. It's funny how the amount of trouble that he had getting that was no easy task. Now, Boat, you're known for doing some sweet comparison action. And
I was inspired after listening to you just murder the NES version of Off-Road a couple weeks ago.
I
on
did
ARG.
murder that. It deserved
I knew
to be killed.
That the NES version of Off-Road could not compete with the 16-bit versions. It's just not up to snuff.
That's true.
But what I thought would be interesting would be to look at two 16-bit versions, so the Amiga version and the Super Nintendo version. And they're both quality ports.
Yeah.
I think that the Super Nintendo wins in some ways. I think the Amiga version holds its own in other ways. And so if you're eager to hear, and a big part of this game, visually they look very similar. You can see that the Amiga is drawn more. It doesn't take up the full screen, and I think that's because of a PAL thing. They didn't want any part of the screen to be cut off. Visually, they look the same, but music and sound effects wise, there's no contest. The Super Nintendo is amazing.
The funny thing about this boat, I watched this video, and I've actually played both these, of course, and I've played the arcade many times. The overall, the Amiga version is very much like the arcade, and the Super Nintendo version is like if they made an enhanced bonus version of the arcade. Yeah. I mean, it surpasses the arcade. In a lot of ways, all the in-between screens and stuff.
I went back and played the arcade version after I did this, just to kind of refresh my mind. And if you're looking for the most accurate arcade port of Super Off-Road, I think the Amiga is the way to go. But if you're looking for sort of the best overall Super Off-Road experience, the Super Nintendo is pretty strong.
You could almost have called it like super deluxe,
Super Off-Road,
like Super Off-Road Deluxe, because
it
really is. And the music is it's a different sort of music. It's not like the arcade at all. So like I said, this comes down to what you want. If you want something that's exactly like you remember playing, you're going to want the Amiga version. Let's face facts. The Nintendo version, when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, it plays fine. It looks great. It plays perfectly. So you could really play either one of these. But if you want a lot more pizzazz, Super Nintendo version, way to go, in my opinion. I watched it. Good job on that one, but I really enjoyed that bad boy. Tell us about what you've got going on here, but I remember you mentioned that you were going to start doing this. This is what is this, our uncut show from last week?
Yeah, so I'm going to start putting these up either, probably on Thursdays every week. And it's because, there's usually some witty, hilarious banter that goes on as we start the stream and experience various technical breakdowns. We chat with the chat and talk about whatever's on our mind. And I used to cut those out and do, but I was like, why bother? Let's just put the whole thing up that way. If you want to wait till Thursday and watch the whole shebang from soup to nuts, the whole Amigos experience, you can do it. And so Thursdays going forward, keep an eye out for the Amigos live and uncut version of the show.
All the witty banter.
All
or
the witty
lack
banter.
thereof, depending on what week it is and how witty and bantery we are. Now, Bo, I want you to talk us to this last one because this one just popped on just less than an hour ago. Oh, I see a good game in there. Tell everyone what's going on here with this one, my friend.
Okay, so we
Look at
have
that
a new buddy. He's not actually a new buddy.
not
He's been our
new.
buddy for a long time. But we have a new addition to the Amigos Retro Gaming Network YouTube channel. This is our buddy Frodo NL, the gaming Dutchman is what he's known as. He's a big ZX Spectrum fan, although he does enjoy games on multiple platforms, and he regularly streams on Twitch. And we want to share those streams with you guys, and also encourage you to subscribe to him on Twitch. He's a great dude. I love having that that continental perspective. It brings a little class to our show, Aaron, if you know what I'm saying.
We need all the class we could get, Bo.
That's right. Frodo goes through in this stream and plays ZX Spectrum games that were made in this century. So they're all games that were made from the year 2000 onwards, which are all super interesting. He plays through several Mr. Do clones.
I believe I saw Drift in there as well.
Yeah. One of the Mr. Do clones is like Mr. Do on the farm, where you're driving a tractor.
Oh
It's
my
great.
God, we got to try that, Bo.
Yeah.
I feel an R. Sinclair coming on.
This is also a great way if you're curious about the Mister scene. Frodo is running all these games off of his Mister, so you can become familiar with sort of how the menus work. If you're eager to think about diving into that pool, you can do that.
He's
So
Mr.
I highly recommend you check out this Spectrum stream from our buddy Frodo.
Yeah, I've caught some of Frodo. So first of all, I agree with somebody in the chat. His shirt seems wrong on every conceivable level. It looks like the Commodore logo with the ZX stripes on it. He's really mixed. It's a what if right there. But yeah, Frodo does great stuff. I've caught a couple of streams, and he's always amusing. I will say, everywhere I go, I catch a lot of live streams, and Frodo is like always there. He's like omnipotent. Everywhere I go, Frodo's. So he's the perfect man to be streaming because he's already on the streams anyway. So it works out great. Good to see. I was happy to see that, Bo. That was excellent choice, my friend. I think that's all we've got on video, Boatster. So we can move along if you'd like.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and summon the gamble train, Aaron.
I will summon him as soon as I can move my mouse. Here he comes. That crazy gamble train.
Amiga News.
Gamble train. All right, Aaron. We're going to start things off with a non-Amiga news item, but this is one that's near and dear to our hearts because of something that you have in your hot little hands. Let's talk about our friend Kate Fox and her buddy Mackie. Kate Fox has a YouTube channel called Macintosh Librarian, where she produces a series of informative videos that are very well done, complete with special effects, including a fully animated Macintosh Classic 2 known as Mackie. So make sure and check out Kate's channel. That's Macintosh Librarian. Now, Aaron, I do believe that we've received something from Kate. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We sure had. Now, we mentioned this on ARG, but I want to bring it up here because it's so cute. And Kate's been a real supporter of ours. And when she started doing her own stuff, I mean, listen, you know what I think about the Mac boat. Not a fan, but Kate's winning me over. And I will say, she did every conceivable thing to entertain me with the cuteness of her show. And so Kate was very kind to us, and she sent us some lovely items here. I'm going to put them up here. So a lovely Mackie Christmas card there.
Wow,
and with wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. She sent me, you, and the Brent one. And then, of course, you've got to send these, and these are just really nice. There's a little Mackie. Isn't that cute? Boat.
I love it,
with
man.
that, and look at the back. It's even got the ports on the back. I don't know if you can see those. Look at that. Very impressive 3D print here.
Yeah, I can hang that on the tree.
I love it. I love it. So thank you, Kate. We really appreciate that. And I also want to say that I really do recommend the show. I mean, we've talked about it before in here. It's not like the first time. Whoops, ignore that guy. Get out of here, robot. It's a great show, and you actually learned something. The last episode she put out was about how the Macs got into schools. I never heard the majority of that stuff, and so I was very pleased with it, Boatster. I'm not going to lie to you. I enjoyed it immensely. So very good stuff. Thank you very much, Kate, and we appreciate your nice gift. We really appreciate it.
And in a similar vein, we'd like to bring a little attention to another channel that we really enjoy. This is Pixels at Dawn Gaming. he has recently completed a golf play-by-play tournament of this is some sort of a hot shots golf tournament. And what he has actually done here is he's taken other streamers like our other buddy, Mr. Cola, and he's actually commented on these streams as if he were Jim Nance himself. So pretty cool.
I watched some of this the other day. Of course, we got to watch the stupid ad first. And it was the best. And Pixels is the perfect guy to do the commentary on these because he's got the right voice and the right temperament for it. And I really thought it was very amusing. And of course, Cole was in there, as a couple other fellas in there. I mean, it was a pretty big tournament in Boatster.
Mm-hmm.
And Pixels his face is in there doing the commentary. It's real entertaining. Pixels is another great streamer. We talked about this before the show. How many people we know that are streaming on Twitch and they're killing it out there. And Pixels has been streaming for a long. Pixels and I guess Cola too have been streaming forever out there. And good stuff. So definitely check out both their channels on there. Of course, also Frodo and El. We know a ton of people that are doing Twitch channels. So pretty much if you see them mentioned on the show, they've probably got an awesome channel. But this is definitely Pixels kills it here. And of course, we both love golf. So it doesn't take much to make us happy as a boat when it comes to golf.
The only thing that could have made me happier is if I were invited to play in this tournament.
Oh, no. Do you feel like were you kicked to the curb, Boat?
Always the bridesmaid, Aaron.
Maybe they saw some of your skills on the last golf you attempted.
Yeah, that should have made them feel better. I could have helped pad their victory.
Oh, I didn't. So you're in there as you're a reverse ringer.
That's right.
Wow, I love it.
All right, Aaron, let's move forward now to some Amiga news. We've got a podcast that has recently been released called the Console Shockcast, Aaron. The Console Shockcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never heard of this one, Bo, until
this is a
Robbie
new one
was
for
on
me
there.
too. I guess it's a retro modern gaming chat, and it features our buddies who we know almost everyone involved in this endeavor, the new Amiga Addict magazine. So I believe that what is going on here is that this is an interview with Ravi Abbott, who is the deputy editor. Aaron, have you ever been deputy editor of anything?
Would you let me edit your stuff, even in a deputy capacity? No.
So he talks about the waning years of Amiga magazines, why Amiga Addict was founded, what the content is, and how you can get a copy. Aaron, Amiga Addict magazines are winging their way to all of the people that purchase them as we speak right now. In fact, many folks have already received their issue. I can imagine that soon, maybe even this time next week, we will have our copy of Amiga Addict that we've purchased.
Yeah.
And so if you want a sort of a behind-the-scenes look at Amiga Addict, you can check out this episode of the Console Shockcast.
Yeah, I got an early PDF thing, but I don't want to read it. I'm waiting. Right. I want the tangible item in yonder hand so I can get in there and tear into it. I'm looking forward to it, Bert.
Yeah.
Bert. I'm looking forward to it, Bert.
All right, Aaron, we're going to move on to some sadder news now. This is
man.
There was a server breach last week at Lemon Amiga, and the site was down for several days. Everyone assumed the worst, that either the Lemon Amiga URL had been sold or if things have been erased. It's been a tough year for the Lemon crew. There's been stuff going down, and so I guess on December 13th there was a server breach where I guess there were some passwords that might have gotten out. The site went down. So we do encourage you. I would imagine that 99.9% of the audience of this podcast has an account over at Lemon Amiga.
Yeah.
So we urge you to go over there, change your password. Don't stop going, because Lemon's still great. But we just, in case you haven't been there in a while, this is what has happened. But as of right now, the Lemon Amiga site is back up and running. Everything's fine. So we're happy about that.
Listen, Lemon has been, I don't want to say without Lemon there'd be no Amigos, but it would have been a much more difficult road to hoe, Boat. Yeah. Without Half-Light and Lemon, Lemon in particular is my go-to site for information about these games.
Very first thing.
Called together and pulled together by geniuses with the ability to organize and make the stuff presentable. It's a brilliant site. Mm-hmm. We love the people over there. They've always been super nice to us and supportive. And I I don't know why people would screw with their stuff. I mean, I know why, because people don't care. But Lemon is the go-to site. So I just want to let those guys know, hey, listen, we appreciate you guys. If there's anything you need, get in contact with us. We're more than happy to help you. And we hope that this is something that we don't have to talk about again for a long time to come, Boatster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Aaron, we're going to move on to a happier story now. Everybody likes Discord. And by everybody, I mean me. I like it a lot. I'm on there all the time. Too much, in fact, probably. And if you are a Discord user and you also are an Amiga user, there is photographic proof that you can run Discord on an Amiga 2000. This comes to us from WYSIWYG Santa Jen. And that may be one of those cute Twitter Christmas only names. It looks like maybe WYSIWYG Protogen is the normal name of this account. I guess there's a combination of software, IRC Junior and something called Bittleby allows you to actually be able to load Discord through your Amiga. Isn't that cool, Aaron?
That is wacky. Look at all the gizmos that this guy's got sitting there. And who knows how many gizmos that this runs through.
Well, what it says is that he says this is running an A2386SX bridge board. So who knows? Maybe this isn't even running on the Amiga. Maybe this is running on, a real computer.
If he's running a bridge board, that's a PC board that goes in the Amiga.
So he's using the functional side of the computer to run this. I never thought about that. Amiga side. And he in just a normal ISA Ethernet card in there, and this is under DOS 5.0. So it's not quite the dream of having an actual Amiga running it. It's basically just a PC running it. But you'd think if an old PC can run something like this, why not the Amiga?
I used to tell the bridge boards were awesome.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Amiga even had programs that would interpret DOS and let you use it. I remember telling my buddies, I had I had disk-based, effectively emulators for the Mac and for the PC, and my buddies would come over and be like, "Listen," I would say, "I've got a standing order in my head. I don't ever buy a machine that can be emulated on one floppy disk." And I'd hold it up to them, and that used to piss off the Chud and everybody else. I used to love to say that about the Amiga because I loved it because no one was emulating jack squat back in those days. I always thought the fact that they engineered the Amiga so they could use these bridge boards was awesome. I had an out once.
Well, I mean, it is sort of awesome, but it is sort of like if the Amiga was really that awesome, why do you need to use a bridge board at all?
Well, you didn't. Like I had stuff for the Amiga that could read PC. They could read PC discs. You could do it all. But having a card would give you a better version of that.
Sure, because I mean you're physically inserting chips into the system.
Listen, can an Amiga run on a PC with a card? No. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a cool feat. I think that's awesome. And the fact that
Tim
this
Mark
guy
says that this guy is actually an 18 or 19-year-old kid.
I love it. Good for him. Nice work, Tin Mark. Good investigation there. I approve of this. I didn't realize that you could run Discord on something that old PC-wise. And so that's neat. It's a real neat story, Bo. Good find on that one, my friend.
All right. And finally, Aaron, possibly the news of the week. Our buddy Edu, straight out of Spain. He is from Spain, right? Or is it Portugal?
No, it's Spain. It's straight out of Spain, yeah.
He has introduced, as of today, I believe that this was released, a new generation of the Unamiga, the Unamiga Reloaded. Now, Aaron, you're the Unamiga master. Tell us about this board, man.
Well, the first time I actually read about this was I'm going to try to pull it up here for us. That's not it. The first was when it was shared on our Discord, and I didn't know he had a new one that was out already. And this is a little different than the one you've seen before, because this one runs on this one actually has its own little case. You don't put it in a 500. You know what I'm saying?
So it's a total standalone unit, and you plug in a PS2 mouse and keyboard to it.
Correct. And this one has, according to what I read, this one also has the ability to play some different stuff. I found the website here. I'm going to pull it up here. So what you've got here is this thing will, of course, you've got an FPGA on this, as is the way things go. Look at this lineup of stuff here. You've got your It's got RTGs, so retardable graphics. It's got the ZX Next, C64 MSX, Nintendo Super Nintendo. That's new. Amstrad is new, and Atari 800. Those are all new cores that are being supported. Now, I hope it would be great if the thingy I bought will support those new cores. That'd be cool. But if it doesn't,
we'll have to have some follow up. We'll have to ask around the Discord and get some answers on that.
I will say this: if you're looking to pick this up, listen, you've got 35 of these left in stock. And people watching this show, I'm not going to say we're the king dongs of the Amiga, but we got a pretty decent listenership, Boatster, and viewership. I suspect when this show gets out there, these will be long gone.
Yeah.
So if you want to get an Amiga, if you're live listening to this, I would run, not walk, to yonder computer and head over to Aaronnet.net and go over and order this now. Now, he's got two versions of this bad boy. You got the 1 meg and 2 meg SRAM.
What do you recommend, Aaron?
Hey, listen, pay the 10 extra euros, Boat, because why not? Listen, if you're dumping if you're in for 165, what are you, cheap? Put the 10 euros in, get the 175. Take this thing to the house. Here's a picture of it, Boat, if you're looking to see what it looks like. There's the gimmick right there, and he's got different views here. This thing features, of course, joystick ports that work. This has got
it's good. It's a working joystick
port.
Well,
I mean, VGA port. Don't hassle me, Boat. You've got your PS2 mouse and keyboard, your stereo out. I assume this also has the 1/8" jack out. You've got your a micro SD card as well. There it is, 1/8" jack. Having had one of these now for the better part of 7 or 8 months, once I got over the initial baloney, it's solid gold money. So now mine is anyway, and I assume this one is too. Listen, most people don't want to trash an old Amiga for one of these.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree.
And the price, in all honesty, I think I paid $150. Right, and mine didn't come with no case. Mine only done Amiga. I didn't have all these other cores. So this is really quite a sweet bargain, in my opinion. And if you want to get on the I've heard you talk about this, Boat, and other people. Listen, you don't just walk out and get yourself a Mister, plunk down a couple bucks, and you're in. That crap's expensive. It's on back order. You have to get these things, and you have to cobble it together, and it's no easy task. So if you want something that does let's say some of what a Mister does, these systems are the one that appeal to you, and you don't want to have a bunch of hassle. Bam, that's your baby right there, Boots.
Absolutely. So we'll make sure, and if you are getting one of these things, leave us a comment in the YouTube comments and let us know, when you receive it, or what your thoughts are, because we'd love to hear from you.
Tell Edu that the Amigos sent you over. Yeah, man. Yeah. Although I've talked to Edu, he's a real good guy, so good for him. But one last little item of newsery. This is sort of personal news, but I want to mention it because it was so neat. I got a big, huge box in the mail today, Boat, from our good buddy David out there in Arizona. Now, David is known as the 3D printer guru, right? And he has outdone himself here. He sent my boy, the Lukester, a goodie. I'm going to pick it up right here and show it to everybody, all right? I'm going to put myself on the big cam. Look at this thing. Can you see that, Boat?
That's Spider-Man.
That is a 3D printed Spider-Man bust.
I know my superheroes.
Look at that.
That's huge. That's a massive bust. It's
a full-size bust. It's like they decapitated Spider-Man to get his head could be in here. It's heavy too. My kid.
Is there any weight in there? Did he put some lead or anything in the bottom?
It's solid. It's solid as a rock, dude. I mean, this is one heck. Listen, I'm no 3D printing guru, Boat. I know it's stunning to hear that. This blew my mind when it showed up. I mean, and you can't really appreciate it unless you see it up close.
Would you say that Spidey is Luke's favorite superhero?
He's up there. And my kid about fell out of his chair when he saw this pop out of the box.
It's very cool.
Yeah, so he's got this on display, but he let me borrow it. And he promised that I would give it back when I borrowed it. But so I want to thank Dave. Thank you, Dave. The boy lost his mind over that. It's a very nice gift I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, Aaron, we've done the news. It's time to This, this is a game that is very pertinent to today because we just had one of the biggest snowstorms in history in part of the great states of America here.
Luckily, I hope it's not pertinent.
Luckily, we were spared the brunt of the storm here in Hurricane. But
others were not so lucky.
Let's talk about Transarctica, Aaron.
A good idea, Boaster. Now, this one, Boat, I know you've never even heard of this one, have you?
Never in my life I'd heard.
I hadn't either. I'll be honest. This one, I had never heard of this wacky game, Boat. And now you may want to. Why don't you explain to the people? We had another game announced this week. Tell me the story on that.
Okay, so yeah, we were originally supposed to do a game called Traders this week. Traders is a homage to the classic Atari and C64 game Mule, released by Electronic Arts. However, we had an issue where we were unable to find documentation for that game, and I literally could not, like, at the beginning of Mule, what's the very first thing that you do? You place your plot of land. Okay, you've got to do that before you can move on. I tried every which way I knew how to place my plot of land, and I could not. And I looked through, we did find some documentation in German, but when I translated it, it didn't make any sense, and it still didn't help with the problem that I was having. So we had to go to Plan B. As you may know, the way that we select each game each week is that we have a committee of people, the game selection committee, that vote on suggestions based on the category. And so Traders won that week, but the second place entry was a game called Transarctica. And so we had to go with the second place winner this week. So Transarctica it is.
I've got to say, I found this an intriguing. This game is a very unusual game. And I don't know anything about Traders. I'm sure at some point we're going to find the docs for that thing. But and by the way, if you don't have the docs for this one, you're double boned as well. So, but they're out there. So let's talk about this bad boy, Boat. Released in '93, this came out on 2 discs. Now, I have an AGA version and an ECS version. Do you remember which one you played on top of your head?
I played the AGA version.
I did as well. Although it's funny, Lemon has no listing for an AGA version of this. I found that odd. But the Hall of Light does. But we played the AGA version. I can't imagine, really, having played AGA, I can't imagine what would be different. I really can't. I mean, it's not like these graphics were blow away.
In terms of the, again, what's the G stand for in AGA?
What?
Gradient.
Oh, here we go.
Extra gradients on all your grays.
But did you see a bunch of gradient in this?
There's a ton of gradients in this game. The coal shoveling screen alone has enough gradients to beat the band.
There you go. So, I believe this game came from our good friends in France. This is from an outfit called I think it's called Silmarils.
No, oh my gosh!
Help me out here, Boat.
It's a Silmarils. It's the Tolkien thing. It's the jewels.
Listen, I'm not as well read into the Tolkien stuff as you. I haven't read
I'm
it
sorry.
since middle
I'm sorry,
school.
listeners. I'm sorry you had to listen.
Oh,
to that.
listen, like they don't know. Come on, give me a break. Anyway, this is. I'd love to see you pronounce the books this was based on. You ever thought on that?
No way. I'm out.
La Campagna del Glaces, written by a fellow named Georges Jean Ahmad. Ahmad, I think is his name. This was from what I've read, an incredible book series. Very well regarded, but I believe they said it written into like 21 volumes, Boat.
Wow.
This guy was pumping these suckers out. Now, listen, before we get into this game, we've got to go, and I demand this, we've got to get into the backstory of this bad boy. Because the backstory of this thing is one of the most wacky backstories. We've read some crazy backstories.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's really that wacky.
Well, I mean, listen, and I will say, in terms of modern climate and the way things are now, yes, I can conceive for someone to be so stupid that they can. That's what scares me. It's wacky but the world is pretty wacky right now. So I'm gonna not read verbatim from the manual, but I'm gonna kind of sum this up. Okay. So picture December 20. This is something else that scares me. This happened right around now. December 2022, December 24th. Operation, by the way, don't ever name your operation this. Operation Blind goes into effect. Big
Bad
mistake.
name.
So what is Operation Blind? Well, what's happened is the world's been ravaged by greenhouse gases. You know how that goes. So what would any logical person do, right? Duh. You blow up the world's snow caps, the North and South Pole.
What you do is you just take some nukes.
That's what they
you
did.
Go up to the North and the South Pole and you set them off and see what happens.
Yeah. And so they put a couple thermonuclear devices. They blew them up simultaneously at each pole, okay? The thought was you kick so much crap into the atmosphere that it would cool down the sun. Makes sense, right? The problem is the scientist here, John Merrick, this was like the Brent equivalent of a scientist. How much explosives should we use, the Brent? Screw, just use it all. And so they used too much. And they blew the caps, and they caused so much crap to go in the atmosphere that it blocked out the sun completely. Whoops. Mm. And so what do you got here is an intense nuclear winter, boat. Not good. So flash forward to like about 100 years, okay? The world has changed dramatically. No one can live outside, all right? There's no trees. All there is the whole world covered in snow. So, of course, logically, how would you live?
First of all, you construct a bunch of giant trains.
Correct. That's right.
And then you just spend your whole life riding around from city to city.
Correct. By the way, if Amtrak were in charge of this, we'd all be dead. There'd be one train that just went around.
Notice this game takes place in Europe.
Yeah. It'd be one train that went around like the one you have around your Christmas tree. That'd be the track. So, in the future, in this train era, what you've got is a big, you've got a huge conglomerate or a huge business that control everything. The sinister and powerful Viking Union.
Yeah.
Those Vikings, they're getting their vengeance on us.
Randy Moss is in charge.
Now, here's what I like about the Viking Union, right? They don't actually go and enforce laws and crap at all these little towns that are still around. They're just like, listen, do what we say or we're just cutting off the track. And so these towns are like, oh, crap, we'll do it. Sorry. And so they control the commerce. They control population, everything. So it turns out that you play a guy who has seen the light. The guy you play saw a book that described the sun in great detail. It was an encyclopedia.
Yeah, he was at the Library of Alexandria, which I guess in this alternate future was not destroyed or lost or whatever.
Yeah, it is.
And
funny.
he opened up an encyclopedia and he saw the entry for the sun.
Yeah, it's fully written in the doc.
The scales fell from his eyes.
Yeah. And so he became what is called in the docs an ambivalent.
Which is a weird name.
I
think
odd.
There was something lost in translation there.
I think you're right. And so what he wants to do is basically revert this horrible thing, and he thinks there's a way to go from Project Blind into something that would bring the sun back, basically clear the air. And so what's this guy do? Well, heck, he's got the jack to steal one of the biggest trains, which is the one that you're driving. Mm-hmm. And
and the name of the train is the Transarctica.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Transarctica. So that's the basis of the game. The goal of the game is for you to acquire enough power and money and knowledge to basically revert what's happened and bring the sun back to the. It's sort of like you are Finray chasing the clouds from the sun or whatever. The old what is that Norse boat? Am I nothing? You got nothing for me? Okay. Anyway, so what do you do in this game? Well, you drive a train around like Boat said. So when you drive a train around, what's the number one commodity on Earth, Boat?
Coal.
That's right. We've been trying to tell you people that for decades in West Virginia.
That's right. West Virginia is going to reign supreme in this future.
That's right. So in this game, your currency is coal. Okay, now there are two types of coal in the game, right? I'm not going to confuse anyone, but all this stuff has to be told for you to understand the game.
Right.
You've got the lignite and the anthracite. Okay, these are two different types of coal, and one of these is exclusively used to power the train. Okay, that's anthracite. All right, lignite is used to power. You can use it to power the train, but it's also used for currency.
Right.
So
you don't want to accidentally. I don't want to skip ahead of your explanation here, but I'd like to put this in the scene where you're powering the train. Yes. You have two men that are standing with two sacks of coal, one on the left and one on the right. Okay. And the game does not give you any sort of warning about what you should be doing here.
Or labeling.
Yeah. If you shovel with the coal on the left side, you are literally burning your money. That is your money. Now the train will take it, but the train will not operate as efficiently with the money coal as it does just your normal coal.
Right. That because the money coal isn't as good for the train as the non-money coal. You're right. I almost
if you're watching right now, you'll see what we're talking about there.
I almost instantly shoveled in all the wrong coal. That's the first thing I did. I was like, I'm gonna fire this sucker up. Now, this game starts off with a real basic menu. It lets you pick a skill level. It lets you turn battle mode on or off. It lets you turn music on or off, and it lets you start the game. That's it, right? I think I caught all that boat. And this is one of those games we see a lot on the Amigos where they don't really give you a lot of actual text labeling. Now, I will say this game, if you hover over stuff or click on it, it will actually tell you what's going on, but you have to do that. Everything else is like pictures for the most part. Your job in this game really, let's boil it down, Boat. It's a trading game, right? When you say that at the heart of it.
This game is a combination of many games. We throw around the term, genre busting, and cross genre all the time. This is really one of these games that does combine tons of different things together because, okay, first of all, you have to learn how to drive the train in this game.
Yes.
It's a full-on train simulator. You don't just push the direction and you go. You've got to shovel in the coal, you've got to adjust your pressure, and then you need to adjust the throttle while you're looking at about 6 or 7 other gauges. Okay? So you're learning how to pilot this train. Okay? That's part 1. Part 2, like you said, it's a trading simulator. It's very similar to Elite in this regard, where you're traveling around a system. Instead of a star system, you're traveling around all of these cities in post-apocalyptic Europe, and you're finding places where you can buy goods at a low price and sell them somewhere else for a high price. Okay, so you've got the trading side of things. It also gives you something rarely seen in video games, and that is train combat. Train combat, Aaron.
I don't think I've ever seen
it. As it sounds. So train combat, basically what you're doing here is you've got a Viking Union train will patrol the rails, and you randomly encounter it, just like you do in a Japanese role-playing game. So you never see it coming. You hear the train whistle, and you know that you're in for it.
It's even got its own random track that will appear sometimes, yeah.
Now, at this point, at the beginning of the game, you can either choose the option to just have the computer decide the outcome of the battle, or you can fight the battle yourself. Okay, if you choose to fight the battle yourself, what happens is, picture in your mind a top-down view of 2 trains that are traveling extremely slowly next to each other. Slow enough so a man can walk astride one or both of them and not fall behind.
Yeah.
Okay? What you have to do is you have to send your soldiers, which you purchase with the money that you made as a trader, over to the other train, have him hop aboard the top of the train and place bombs to blow up different cars, or he can also go into combat with the enemy soldiers that are also lurking about on top of the train, okay? At the same time, you've also got cannons on your train. You can click on the cannons to destroy the train cars that are directly opposite to wherever the cannons are. So what you have to do to succeed in combat is that you have to destroy all of the enemy's munitions, so all of their cannons, all of their soldiers, and also, weirdly, all of their livestock. And that doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the way it goes. There's a binary outcome in these battles. So at any point you can run into one of these things and the game can be over. If you don't win, you will lose. So it's very important.
Well said, Boat.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been known for my erudite speech. Basically, your MO at the beginning of this game is that you have to amass a large amount of money just so you can purchase soldiers and cannons to put on your train, just so you can survive the random encounters that you're going to have with these Viking Union trains. This makes the learning curve of this game nigh on impossible without an extremely long period of trial and error as you negotiate this overworld map that's got probably, I'd say, close to 50 cities on it. I mean, there's a ton of locations in this game, and the only way that you can find out, because the manual sure as heck isn't going to tell you, Where you can buy low and sell high is just by trial and error. You've got to take a lot of notes. Okay. But I'm still not done describing all the things that you have to do in this game, because there's also an adventure game component in this, where in between, whenever you go to each individual city, you have to talk to the locals there. You can procure different items, and you'll need these items from the locals to be able to get to certain areas in the map. For example, there's certain areas in the map, whenever you try and go across like a bridge with a lake, a sea monster will come up and take you down, and it's game over. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to find a harpoon. So you have to travel to another city and find a harpoon so you can beat the monster. It's very
a
Dizzy-like.
sea monster. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's very Dizzy-like, in that the puzzles are very simple.
Dizzy-like.
It's like find the right enemy so you can progress to the next area with the item.
It's Dizzy on a train.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who hasn't flung a couple dozen harpoons off a moving train to kill a sea monster?
Listen, the best thing you can get, and along the lines you're talking about, if you get it, there's a huge freaking blade a blade train to like knock big stuff off the track like mammoths. And if you look at the picture of it, it's just this huge dagger that they've stacked on the back of a flat train. And I thought to myself, who's going to run into an elephant with this?
one thing that we haven't really talked about, well, there's like a million things we haven't really talked about
Yeah,
yet, but one of the things is that, okay, you've got you've got a locomotive, right?
Yeah.
And so all of your action, whether you're going into your study or you're on the train, you're in the engine room itself, okay, but you're constantly adding cars to your train.
Yeah.
So if you can picture the screen in your mind, the top 2/3 of the screen is the overworld map or close-up views of the city that you're in or the interior of the train. At the top of the lower third, you see like an endless line of train cars that you actually have to scroll back and forth with arrows on both sides of the screen.
Yeah.
And this represents all the different cars of your train.
Yeah.
You can have up to 100 different cars on this train. This is like some sort of endless coal train like we have to wait for all the time in West Virginia.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And now, where this game really shines graphically is the care that the artists have taken in drawing these different types of trains. This is by far the most beautiful part of the game. It's a very stylized, like 1920s Bioshock-ish Art Deco type thing. And they're really, really beautiful trains. And they do all kinds of stuff. Like Aaron said, there's a blade train that you can use to run down mammoths.
There's missiles. There's cranes. There's trains that can hold mammoths and livestock. There's troop carriers. There's guns. There's all kinds of crazy. Listen, I know this word gets bandied about and thrown around a little bit, but this game is straight up grade A wacky. It's got wacky elements to beat the band. You're out there, I mean, you have these random encounters with animals, wolves, the horda they call them, that will come out. First of all, why are you stopping the train when the wolves show up? Just run these dogs down, brother. But you've got mammoths that will stagger out on the track, like boats, and you can have weird stuff happen on the lakes. You'll also come across places where the track's broke, so you've got to get your crane car out. You got to fix that sucker so you can keep going. I mean, it's just that you're right. There's genres smashing each other left and right.
Yeah. Now, it's also important to realize that this map is loosely based on continental Europe, okay? So you've got like Russian cities over to the east, and you've got, Western European cities to the west, and approximately the same place. You've got the Mediterranean cities there. And it's helpful to have a knowledge of sort of a regional stereotypes in this, and to do things in this game. So where are you going to pick up some soldiers? Berlin, of course.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get the spies? Well, you better go over to Moscow to get those spies. So and so there is that sort of element too, which it's kind of nice because it lets the player feel clever that they figured it out. But you've got to have all of these things. There's a part in the game that I saw as I was watching a playthrough where you actually, and spoiler alert, if you want to play this, turn it off now. You actually send spies to an area where you've heard Chernobyl was, and the spies actually discover Chernobyl, like the ruins of Chernobyl, and you use that material to blow up an area so you can get to the end of the game. The final part of the game is, I guess, you take on the big bad Viking Union mega train. And I guess it's just one of these ultimate monster machines, and you better have a well-stocked train to be able to take it down, and that's the end of the game.
We haven't even talked about, there's so much we haven't talked about, but One of the elements of this game, and you touched on it briefly, was spies. You can send spies out to gather information, but the way you get spies, I found particularly wacky. Spies they don't have to pay them, but they need their special train car. They've got this decked out car with like a thing on top of it. And if you've got this, then you can get spies. Just same thing if you could go out and stop your train and hunt mammoths. And you could get mammoths, and mammoths are used, you can use them for attacks or to do work, but you have to have the special car for animals, so you can see how this works. Go out, make money trading, go and get the cars you want. What do you need? Do you need troops? Well, you need a troop car to put the troops in, and you need the troops. So you go get the troop car, then you go, and the same place isn't going to sell you all that stuff.
Right.
It's sort of like trade wars or something.
It's important to realize that unlike Elite, where you sort of have a chance to be able to fly around a lot and do some trading without the fear of imminent death, the way that these random encounters work, because they are binary, like at any point it can be game over. And so what you've got to do is you've just got to determine your route and just keep on restarting until you get to the point where you can make the shortest route possible with the least chance that you run into an enemy train, amass your fortune, outfit your train, and then you can start playing the game.
Well,
and the amount of hours that it would take to do that is just this game requires a massive, massive time commitment. And it's not a bad thing. It's just you have to know that going in.
The way I did it, Bo, one thing that we haven't mentioned is whenever you're driving along, occasionally you're gonna hear like an alarm go off. And that means that's the random counter alert, right? And I learned this from watching some playthroughs and reading some documentation. The second I heard that alarm, I put the train in reverse. And I was like,
I didn't realize you could do that.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
and then you could avoid the alarms. And so I would just avoid.
If you back up, if you just start backing up and you just keep going in reverse, then you won't hit that random encounter. Interesting.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, sometimes if you think you've got the jack, then you could just go ahead and go through the random encounter. But it's random. Sometimes it'll be like, and the thing is, sometimes you need, for example, if you like having mammoths is good, right? Because you need some on your train to do stuff like fight or do stuff like help build train tracks and whatnot, move stuff. So you need to go hunt occasionally to get some. And so you're going to want that random encounter. And you'll see on the map a little mammoth walking by. You can pull the train up and go hunt those suckers and catch them. So sometimes they're good, but often, and something like if you've got a real super tough train with guns and a bunch of troops, you want the enemy trains to come up because you can go pound the crap out of them if you got the jack. I never played a battle myself. I just put it on automatic because I was like, that's one thing I don't have to learn. But I watch the people play it. The battles are goofy. That's probably the weakest part of the game because you have to this little movement box pops up. That's how you move your guy around, and it sucks.
Yeah, and one thing about this game is it is 100% mouse controlled.
Yeah.
And that can be a good thing or a bad thing, and where it falters is where if you can picture when, like you said, whenever you click on the ground, you see a 6x6 grid pop up with all the different directions and things your guy can do.
Yeah.
And it's a lucky thing that these trains are moving so slow, because if they were moving at any rate of speed at all, you would never be able to do anything, and the battle would be over before it started.
Now I want to get into some of the real intricate parts of the game here, Bode. This game, I mean, if I was listening to us talk, I'd be like, man, this sounds pretty good, all right? But it's not all mammoth hunts and one-on-one train battles. This is your classic series of menus game. Mm-hmm. You're on the engine menu. You're putting the coal in the train menu. You're on the map menu. You're on the menu for the spies. You're on the menu that's in your boudoir. You're moving back and forth. You're on the map again. And then when you're not doing that, you're on the overhead map manipulating train switches, trying to figure out where the heck you're going, trying to figure out what the heck you're doing, what's your plan, and which city am I going to go to? And this game recommends right in the beginning, it says, listen, on the documentation it says it'd be a good idea to get a pencil and paper. No kidding. But you got to write down who's trading what at what price. It's just like the old trade wars on the BBSs. Something else, I saw a ton of playthroughs that didn't get this, and it's a vital part of the game. There's a clock on the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the screen that spins around. All right, that's the time in the world. If you click that clock, every time you click it, you amp up the amount of time. It's a time speed up, right? You need to use this because otherwise you're going to spend 20 minutes sitting there watching your train putt along a route that goes on 18 kabillion miles through the snow. And I've seen plenty of people try to play this and they didn't know what that was. And so their game, they were like, this is slow. Well, no kidding. Turn on the time compression. That's what you're supposed to do. That's vital. Something else I wanted to touch on. I'm reading the manual for this thing, Boat, and I came across this in your boudoir. One of the options in the boudoir, there's a backup option, there's a save option, there's a inventory option, and then there's the suicide option. This is in the manual. By selecting the revolver on the table, you can, by pressing the trigger, commit suicide and thus return to the options page. This is the only way you can exit to the main menu is to kill yourself, and then you get a screen where it talks about how you didn't get the job done and the Earth's blanketed in clouds and no one will ever see the sun. And there is no quick game. That's it. So have to commit suicide. It's funny too because
later on in the manual, it's like they go through this like really like how the odds are against you. This is during the combat part, and it's like, and if that doesn't sound good, then suicide might be a sweet solution.
Yeah, it glorifies suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, something else we didn't talk about in this game are these guys called like mole men. All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mole men will come up and attack you. Right. They're mole men. They're sort of like the Morlocks. Right. So you can eventually you're going to come across that. You're going to come to a point. And I saw this pointed out. I'm not going to hold the game's feet to the fire on this. It's just the way it is. But the mole men you use those guys as slave labor, and slave labor is sort of important. And you'll be hauling slaves around.
You can't win the game without it. You got to enslave the mole men. Now the mole men are cannibals, so I mean, in a way, they deserve to be enslaved.
Well,
right?
if you read the manual, it says most of the slaves are mole men. So, whoops, probably some other guys you've got enslaved. But hey, this is the post-apocalyptic nuclear future. There's going to be some slaving. There's no doubt about that. You know, when you get to the various towns, like Boat said, they are. I guess I didn't really think about it I knew the towns were European, but you would come to like Rome and stuff, and it didn't look like you were anywhere near Italy.
Well, everything's, if you look at the overworld map, everything is approximately where it should be.
But each town, you sort of have to, I don't want to say memorize, but you need to probably make a note.
You got to write everything down. There's nothing in this game you'll be able to do without taking notes.
Something else, occasionally mines will pop up, right? Mm-hmm. And we should talk about that. And so you could put your train over these mines, and you can load up on the various types of coal. And something else you can do is when you fight, you can when you win the fight, you basically claim like all the still functioning train and all the stuff on it. So which is nice. So there is a reason to stock your train with a lot of weapons if you want to go that route. How did you usually approach this thing, Boat?
Well, like I said, what I did was after I spent a long time in frustration, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to see how to do this. Okay. And there is a route that you can take that is like, it's only 2 cities where you go up and to the left and you buy, I can't remember what it is. You buy something.
You buy train cars right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go up and then you can sell something you buy in that first city for like 80x the price. Of what you'd buy it for, okay? And then that gives you enough money to get going. But the problem is that how am I playing this game in really experiencing this game when I didn't figure that out on my own? You know, it's almost like playing an adventure game and just, once you know the puzzle, where's the game? And that everything about this game is a puzzle. It's all one giant puzzle. This game does not hold your hand in the slightest. It comes from an earlier generation of games like this, which there are many on the computers. We talk all the time about, games that the consoles did better than the computers. Well, this is the type of game that would never, ever, ever exist on a console. Yeah. And it's because the people that are into buying games on consoles are not the kind of people that are going to want to invest the kind of time that you need to excel at this game. Not to mention the fact that it's entirely mouse driven and it would drive you insane to do this stuff with a controller. But it's mostly just the mindset that you have to have. This is a lean forward gaming experience where you've got your desk set up, you've got your notebook out, and you're taking notes and you're really enveloping yourself in this world. Yeah. Now, that said, that's, back in the day when people were younger and everybody had more time, that wasn't a bad thing. And I'm sure, like, when you watch the people on YouTube, because I watched several people sort of commentate on this game.
Yeah, they didn't play it very long. Most of them.
Yeah,
they were in and out.
Yeah, they fall into two camps. You've got people that are like, "Hey, I'm the Let's Play guy. Let's see what this game's about." And of course, they give up after 10 minutes because it's impenetrable.
Yeah.
But if you watch a Let's Play of somebody that played this game back in the day to completion, they can wax poetic about all the things that are great in this game, and they can convince you, because once the game is explained to you, you're like, "Oh, okay, well, that makes sense." And you almost wish that you could start again without the knowledge that you have and be able to play it. But of course you can't, because as they're explaining things, they're giving away what you need to do. There was one guy in particular that I want to give a shout out to. His name is Evil Teuton Re-Up Archive on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want to watch somebody that knows this game like the back of his hand explain what's going on and sort of take you through the beginning stages, this guy is the one to watch. He's a German guy. I guess he did something like a 30-part playthrough in German. And then he was like, "Well, now it's time to do it in English."
Yeah,
this guy is all in on Transarctica.
I'll watch some of this because at the very last section, he had to re-show his German version because he couldn't win it again. So he commentated over it in English. I felt bad for the guy. I did catch some of that guy.
Now, another thing that I want to talk about with this game is the sound. The music and the sound in this game is among the best that I've heard on the Amiga. There are all kinds of great train sound effects. There are environmental sound effects like the sound of you shoveling coal and everything. Everything has been done very well. The music does not play all the time, but there is sort of dramatic music that tends to come in and out during various scenes. I am a huge fan of the sound design in this game. I thought it was very good.
I like the in-game tune, but the opening theme I thought sucked. I'll be honest with you.
I didn't spend too much time on the opening theme.
I thought the opening theme they picked. I don't know who put that together, but there's one of the things they picked in their mod. One of the sound effects sucked. It was like, I was like, what is that? It didn't fit. You know, I want to. You know, it's funny. I do my best to. I hardly ever watch playthrough stuff when I'm doing a game on the show, unless it's like a point and click or something. I try not to. But I was completely like dumbfounded at this game when I first started. So I found a guy, and I want to shout out for him, Maximilian Noel, who did a video called "How to Survive the Beginning of the Game." Yes, I copied him verbatim. That's exactly what he did. So I could figure out what was going on, because I just couldn't figure out what to do. Mm-hmm. And the manual that they've got on Lemon, I don't think it's a complete manual, because I think the actual manual goes into a lot more depth than that one does. And so what you're dealing with, it's one of those things where you have to get in there and get your feet wet and give it a whirl.
All this manual really needed to do, it can leave all the content that's there. Just have one more section and just call it "Getting Started."
Yeah.
And just
or even
okay,
maybe a tutorial mode would help.
Well, you're not going to get that.
I know, but I could dream, Bo.
But if they would have just said, "Okay, the first thing you need to do is get some money. So here's an idea on how you can get some money. Go to this town and trade for this thing." And it may not be the optimal best way to do it, but at least it would give you an idea of like, okay, this is how the systems work. This is sort of the thing that I need to be thinking about. If they would have done that, I wouldn't have needed to watch anything on YouTube, because everything that I learned from this guy's video could have been explained in like 3 or 4 paragraphs in the manual, and then I would have been off and running.
Well, there's also things like how not to blow up your train in the first 10 minutes, which I saw that happen on YouTube.
I did that plenty of times too.
Because you can, when you
let
Bo
the pressure
said,
build up.
Yeah, you have to actually fire up these trains, and you can't just have the guy dumping coal into it and just go to another screen,
right?
Because you'll blow up the engine after a while.
It's a train simulator. Yeah, it really is.
And so what you've got to do, and also as has been pointed out, you're literally shoveling cash into your engine, so you don't want to go full bore everywhere, and you want to try to maximize your profit from where you're going. Mm-hmm. It's a lot like an Elite or a Start or a Trade Wars. I mean, that's what it reminded me of in a lot of ways, because it really, like I said before at the very beginning of this, it boils down to a trading game with some additional crap. I mean, it's a lot like a Trade Wars and a Train. Train Wars would be a good name for it. Overall, Boat, this is another one I could see getting a little modern tweak to it. I mean, it's so unusual. I can see this still having some appeal. What do you think?
Yeah, when I did some work online because when you search for this game, you get autocomplete results that say Transarctica remake. And I was like,
Oh.
"Oh." But then I looked and I searched for that and I didn't find anything.
Hmm.
So I think it's just the matter of lots of other people having that same idea where it's like, "Hey, this would be an awesome game to remake," because it really would be. You could do an Elite Dangerous type style with this and really make it cool because first of all, there's a bunch of people that love trains. Okay, so that's good. Number two, there's a bunch of people that dig post-apocalyptic settings.
Yeah.
So that's a win. Okay, so those things combined, you could really do something cool with this game. Give it a good, graphical overhaul. Simplify some of the menus a little bit. And man, you'd have something on your hands for sure.
Yeah. I thought I was going to kill this thing because, as you know, let's all say it together. This sort of game is not my bag. But I enjoyed it maybe because of the goofy background. The goofy background goes a long way with me. And, the fact that it's based on a successful book series. I think they've got too many menus. I think it's too hard to do stuff. I'd like to get to the point where you just click somewhere and the train goes there.
Yeah, I really think that what they should have done was given you more options, just like they did with the combat, where you could just turn off the train part of it.
It just takes up the time, and you're there.
You just click and go. I agree with you. And it's one of these games too, where you learn the different systems individually, and then when you feel comfortable, then you can turn that stuff back on and get a richer experience.
Yeah. This is one of those games we've covered so many times from this era where you can see why people cling on to it, because people that enjoyed this game devoted themselves to it. They had unlimited time. This was their game for the month or the 2 months. They had the full manual, the docs, the awesome artwork. The box art on this is awesome. And when you got all that stuff, that nice package, it moves you forward to want to get good at it. And if you're a fan of the book series, you're really motivated to get into it and devote your time to it. And that's the kind of person that would really get into this game.
I will say that the box art in this game is some of the coolest box art that I've ever seen. I mean, you've got a guy standing in front of this massive, massive train. This train has got to be like 10 stories tall. It just looks really cool. I don't know if that's actually to scale of the trains in this game.
I think the box art is from something else. It seems like I read somewhere. Oh, yeah. The box art, it says here, was from Rodney Matthews, and it's from a painting he did called Heavy Metal Hero. Apparently, that's what I'm seeing here on Lemon. So there you go. If you know what that's from, but it's a cool looking. Let me tell you something. If you're going to use some box art, and they've got cool logo. It's a good looking package. In general, I agree with you on that, Boatster. I should mention that I looked up some reviews on this bad boy to see, and I should also mention this. I wanted to say this before I forgot. This game came out on the Amiga. This is a port from the PC VGA version. So here we are. We're getting into that area where now we're getting their ports. All right. And I looked at the PC version of this, by the way, just for I'm guessing you did not.
No.
And it was the PC version of it was what you would expect. It was actually very similar. The music was similar. It was no great it was not like the Amiga version was crap compared to it. They were very similar.
This guy obviously right off the bat doesn't know what he's doing because he's shoveling his money into the thing.
You're like me, Bo, because when I watch anybody play this game, I know also when you're double clicking the guy, making the guy shovel twice as fast, I'm like, that's always you're an idiot when you do that. But this game did come from the PC VGA version. I think it's it looks pretty solid to me.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I want to mention. This also got an ST port, a Mac port. Hey, a Mac port. But here's the real crazy thing. According to Wiki, this got an Atari. It got an Atari ST, but it also had an Atari Falcon release.
Oh man!
Holy smokes!
Keep an eye out for that next time the Falcon comes up on the wheel.
Holy! I couldn't believe it. An Atari Falcon version.
That's awesome.
Kind of neat. Anyway, I looked on the reviews on this thing. Lemon's Crew gives us a 7.41. Again, now they're not differentiating between the ECS and the AGA version. But I mean, in this type of game, I don't think it really matters, to be completely honest with you. Amiga Action gives us 88%. Amiga 4 78. Amiga Format 60. Amiga Joker, all right, 77. Boat, not too bad. Amiga Power 65, and the 1 gave this a 62. I think if for listeners of ours that are viewers that are into these sorts of games, I think this might be a sleeper hit if you haven't tried it. I think you might enjoy this a lot. Did we get any Discord action on this?
We did. Chris Folds gave it a go. He says couldn't get into it. Blah. 4 out of 10.
Oh, Folds. Well, I mean, I'm gonna defend Folds for a second, Boat. You load this up. And you look at it, and you're like, "Oh my God!"
Mm-hmm.
It is
very intimidating,
overwhelming when you look at it. But it's not that bad when you actually play it. Once you understand what all the menus do, and that I will say, the documentation on Lemon, it gives you an idea of what all the different parts of all the different menus are. It gets you started enough to where you can play this and not completely suck. So, you got any parting thoughts on this one?
I enjoyed this more probably than any other game that I thought that I would like. It's rare for me to have a turnaround like I had with this game.
Yes.
Because when I was playing it on
it.
my own,
Yeah.
and I was giving it my best try after I read the manual, and I was, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. This is a horrible game.
Yeah.
And then when I heard somebody that knew what they were doing calmly explain it to me, then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I got into it because I understood it, and that's the key.
I had the exact same experience you had. This is one of those rare times, and this has happened to us a few times on this show where we went and saw someone that knew what they were doing, and they held our hand, and it got us through the beginning, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's clicking. I agree.
Yeah. So we do have. I'm sorry. Did you look this up on eBay, Aaron?
I didn't see any for sale.
Okay. I apologize if you say that every time because I'm always looking at the reviews when you say that. So I apologize.
No problem.
So, all right, Aaron, it's time to talk about what's going on in the Amigos community, Aaron. We've had several new high score challenges come to the fore here. Our current Specky high score challenge is one of your favorite games. And it's funny, Aaron, because this is very similar to Transarctica. This is a game that you came around on. This is Manic Miner.
Yeah.
So this week's game is Manic Miner. There are some scores, Aaron, that are just insane. People can loop this game.
I know. I was watching people loop, and I was baffled having played this on R. Sinclair.
But anyway, if you feel like you're up to the challenge, you can hop on over to our Discord and see if you can topple the current leader, who is Paul, aka Hermsky, with an insane score of 45,576. Over on the Amiga high score challenge, it's another Finnish game. We're back-to-back Finnish games, Aaron. The Finns are taking over the Amigos high score challenge. This month's game is a shooter. And it's called Galactic, the Christmas edition. It's a wacky game. Right now, Z9K9 has a score of 597,396. He's beaten my score by over 5 times. So hop on there if you want to try. This is a real crazy game. I have a feeling this might show up later on down the line for us to cover, Aaron, because it's just wacky. But anyway, that's what's been going on over in the Amigos Discord community. Let's see. Next thing up is we should probably thank all the fine folks that subscribe to the show on Twitch. We do record the show live every Friday night around 5 o'clock. And you're welcome to hop on, join the chat. We got a nice crowd watching us right now. And you can subscribe and help support the channel through Twitch, and you get the same Discord benefits that you do as if you were a Patreon supporter. So we want to thank Retro Jerry for being a subscriber, Negsol, John Marshall 3, Christian Russell, Nagram, Buck Owens. Buck Owens, thank you for being a 13-month subscriber. You just subscribed earlier in the show. Rob O'Hara, Tom Pops, Tin Foil, Gary Heather, Jost80, Edvin Helen, Duncan Styles, Morifumi, Zuper Dan, Senior Bjorn, no. Still Adolescing, Air Jury, Mitsuyama, Mr. Cola, Judge Dave, Dave versus Donuts, Chris Folds, Lamatza, Frodo NL, Albie Sure, Hasifa, Macintosh Librarian, David Z, NAZ, Rule of Thirds, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, Fidarta, Peeplo, Jigglebox, Eeyore4077, Dave Velociraptor, Tenmark, Uber Scuba Diver, Great Algae, Pints and Amiga, Wing Chun Wolf, and Wolf at Dawn. We got multiple wolves hanging out in the Twitch.
The Horda have arrived, boat.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to last week's Patreon song challenge, Aaron, this one was definitely in the college music realm.
Yeah.
We had a couple correct responses. The name of the song was Dr. Worm. Are you familiar with this song, Aaron?
No.
Okay.
Who does that one, boat?
This is a song by They Might Be Giants.
Wow. And I know them.
Yeah, and so we want to give a hearty congratulations to Anthony Jarvis, founder of the excellent Amiga show. Check it out on YouTube. And also our buddy from Australia, Bundy. Bundy got it right. So congratulations, guys. If you know this week's Patreon song challenge, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read your name on the air next episode. Now, I rarely do this, Aaron, but I'm going to give a little hint for this Patreon song challenge.
Lord, it must be obscure.
Okay, and the reason why we're doing it is because we changed the game. Okay, so this when this game title came up, I was like, well, I know what I'm doing for my song.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we go. Hi, William Venture Scar, Data Dog Heavy Systems Inc., Bundy Fraglord Mark Byland, Olaf Hope Hermski, Jonah aka Simulant, Ethan Little Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Cabot Boy Dane Denson, Luke Hudson, John Cook, Bomb the Bass, Roshi, Frodo in El Sol, Incisor, Tech Mage Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorglub, Commodore Kid, Reflections, Simon Ledge, Cap'n Crispy, Kilobytes, and Caffeine, Gary, Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Etta, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig Shanzo, Bachbit Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Leaf Kellan, Alden Kebab, Chicote, Levelor, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocher, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgard Mortensen, Ed Van Helen, Blindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Folds, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles Tapes from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbertstadt, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Wants, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
Song sort of petered out there in the middle, boat.
That was my fade.
That's what that was?
Yeah.
Well,
one's for Figgy, by the way. Special shout out
good.
to Figgy CTZ.
You're shouting that out to somebody. What did Figgy do to you? Oh.
All right, Aaron. Next week.
Big week, Boat. Huge week. A big announcement. Tell the people, Boat.
Next week, we are moving our recording date to Wednesday, December 23rd.
Why are we doing that?
Because next week is Christmas, Aaron. Next week, next Friday, a week from today, is Christmas Day.
Yes.
Enjoy the time with your family if you can. And so we're moving things back a couple days, and we're doing something entirely new with the Amigos Christmas Spectacular. As you know, if you are a longtime viewer of the Amigos, we've done lots of wacky things with the Amigos Christmas Spectacular show,
Oh, yeah.
including having like 6 or 8 people down here just sitting around talking. So this week, or this year, we are actually involving all of the hosts on the Amigos Retro Gaming Podcast Network. That's right, Aaron. Flack, host of Sprite Castle, the C64 podcast. He's going to be here. Eric Nelson, Cody, and Sanxion, Tim, is going to be representing the Pixel Guide In podcast.
Sounds great.
And, of course, the Brent.
Oh.
From
You mean the
ARG
Grinch?
Presents.
The Grinch is coming?
The Grinch is coming.
Holy smokes. Who invited him?
And what we're going to be doing is we're all going to be talking about different ports of the same game. I'm not going to give away what the game is, but this is a game that has enough ports to where 6 different people can talk about it. So think about a Christmas-related game. A little quiz for you guys. Think about a Christmas-related game that has many, many, many ports. That's what we're doing next week. Like I said, we're going to start at 6 o'clock, so an hour after this. And we're going to go until we're done. It will be broadcast live on Twitch, and it will go up on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, depending on when we put it up. Either one of those 2 days, it will be put up on the audios and the YouTubes. But if you want to join us live, we'd love to have you for some Christmas cheer with our Amigos Retro Gaming Christmas Spectacular.
And that'll be December 23rd, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Correct. All right, Aaron. And before we close things down, we want to thank all the fine folks that have joined us live in chat right now on Twitch. Nice crowd this evening.
Yes, thank you.
We'd like to thank. Oh, and I've clicked the wrong button here. I know it's hard to believe.
He's not thanking nobody.
The first thing that we need to do is thank our amazing moderators, Duncan Styles and Pixels at Dawn Gaming. Pixels has been working hard. You know, he is also one of the higher ups over at Amiga Addict.
Yeah,
he pretty much is. He has pretty much complete editorial control. He decides what gets left on the cutting room floor. If you
have
know
you seen his picture in the magazine? He looks like the old cat that ate the canary boat. He's just sitting there with that look on his face.
He's got a very wily look about him as he cradles his 600 lovingly in his arms.
He also said he was not naked. Repeat, not naked in the picture. So don't let that deter you.
All right. So in the chat, we've got the 10-minute Amiga Retrocast. Doug has joined us. We got Barkbit live from Sweden. Brock 101 is here. Buck Owens. Christian Russell. Commander Root, Dag 2099, David Z, NAZ, Frodo NL, Hermsky is here, Johnny Renegade, L. Curtis B, Mitz Oyama, M. Kelly 0904, Mr. Cola, Ms. Lenity, Nagram is here with us, Olav Hope, Paul Kitching, Picard 2010, R. Typer is here, Real Reffy, Retro Jerry, Rob O'Hara, Saddest Kitty, Super Tech Boy, Tom Toms, Treyguard 82, and Vigoro Pros. Thank you guys so much for joining us for Amigos this evening.
Yes, thank you very much, fellas.
All right, Aaron. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Stay tuned. Watch us next week. Oh, Aaron, you doing any streaming this evening?
I think I'm going to not stream tonight, Boat. I'm going to pick it up at the beginning of the new year, my friend.
Okay, man. Okay, sounds good. All right, guys, we will see you next Wednesday, December 23rd, for our Amigos Retro Gaming Christmas Spectacular. Until then, adios.